Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the weekend warm-up for the 2018 US Grand Prix. Now, coming up, I'll be going over all of the track stats, tyre information and weather for the race in Austin. I'll have a look at how Lewis Hamilton can wrap up the title, and Matt will take you on a virtual lap around the circuit before I reveal my one to watch. If you're after a specific part of the video, you can find timestamps in the description and as a pinned comment. But let's get things started by having a look back at last year's race. And I think two words best sum up how the 2017 US Grand Prix will be remembered, and they are track limits. But before that, off the line, Sebastian Vettel got the jump on Lewis Hamilton and passed the Mercedes into turn 1, leaving the track on the exit, which upset quite a few at the time. But Hamilton retook the lead later from the German on lap 6 and never really looked back from that position. Daniel Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas had a great scrap early in the race, which also raised questions over track limits. But unfortunately for the Aussie, engine issues struck and on lap 16 he pulled over and retired from the race. Carlos Sainz was locked in a fight with the Force Indians, with Esteban Ocon eventually getting the jump on the Spaniard. The Haas of Kevin Magnussen wiped out the Sauber of Pascal Wehrlein. That was early on in the race and was later hit by the German's teammate Marcus Ericsson. And Sebastian Vettel, trying to make his way back up to second place, pulled a really good move around the outside of turn 1 on Valtteri Bottas before teammate Kimi Räikkönen made life a little bit easier for him a lap later. But the big talking point that, as I recall, caused quite a lot of debate for quite a while after the Grand Prix, in fact if my social media is anything to go by, that debate is still raging on. But that was Max Verstappen's move on Kimi Räikkönen on the very last lap. The Dutchman, who was on one of his fantastic comeback drives, had made his way up to 4th place before throwing it up the inside of Kimi Räikkönen on that last lap to take 3rd. However, the stewards did deem that he had cut the track with all 4 wheels leaving the circuit and decided that that move was illegal and stripped him of his podium. It's a decision I'm not going to start debating again now. You know, it has been a year, and at the time I gave it more than enough ranty coverage. But as for the key stats from last year's Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton took pole on the Saturday with a lap time of a 1:33.108. As touched on there, he did go on to take victory with Sebastian Vettel in 2nd place and a second Ferrari in 3rd. Driver of the day, and absolutely rightly so, was Max Verstappen. He went from 16th on the grid to cross the line in 3rd before, of course, being demoted back down to 4th with that penalty. But a great drive. And the fastest lap of the race went to Sebastian Vettel on lap 51 with a 1:37.766. It should also be noted that last year's Grand Prix was the race which saw Mercedes crowned Constructors' champions once again, and 12 months on, this weekend's Grand Prix could see Lewis Hamilton clinch a 5th World Drivers' title. The Brit has been in incredible form of late, winning 6 of the last 7 races. In fact, since his DNF in Austria, he has finished inside the top 2 in each of the last 8 Grand Prix. That all means that he finds himself with a 67-point lead over Sebastian Vettel with just 100 points still up for grabs, and therefore with 3 races left after this weekend, Hamilton needs to leave Austin with a gap of 75 points to take the title. So outscoring Sebastian Vettel by 8 points this weekend will be enough. If Hamilton does win the Grand Prix, then Vettel must finish in 2nd to prevent the title being wrapped up this time out. Although, and with all due respect, that would pretty much just be prolonging the inevitable. But of course Vettel is going to want that championship to go as long as he can. But here are the rest of the permutations then, and if Hamilton finishes in 2nd place, then Vettel must finish in 4th. If the Brit takes 3rd, then the German must finish in 6th. 4th and Vettel must finish 7th. 5th and Vettel has to finish in 8th. If Hamilton takes 6th, then Vettel has got to finish in the top 10. But if Hamilton finishes 7th or lower, the title race goes on to Mexico. I should also throw into that should the drivers be tied on points after Abu Dhabi, Hamilton would still be crowned world champion due to his superior results this season. Let's have a look at some track stats then, and the track length is 5.513 kilometres, or if you prefer that in miles, that's 3.426. There are 20 corners around COTA, that's 11 to the left and 9 to the right, with 56 race laps on Sunday. Multiple teams are saying that drivers are at full throttle for 59% of the lap, and according to Mercedes, the highest lateral G is at turn 16, and that comes in at 3.9. The main overtaking spots will inevitably be at the end of the 2 DRS zones, and of course it was decided by the FIA back in August that the DRS zones down the back straight between turns 11 and 12 would be extended to try and increase those overtaking opportunities. Personally, I've always felt like that particular DRS zone has been very powerful around COTA in the past, so I'm quite fearful that we could be set to see some seriously OP DRS overtakes this weekend. But with the way F1 is at the moment, I suppose it's a necessary evil, as Ross Brawn said, and an overtake is an overtake at the end of the day. And just so you know, the other DRS zone remains unchanged. So turn 1 and turn 12 are the key corners in terms of making a move. But as we saw multiple times last year, drivers are not afraid to run side by side out of 12 and then continue the fight through turns 13, 14 and 15. Another change to the track is the addition of some new curbs to try and avoid the controversy from last year's Grand Prix. And those curbs are 2 metres long, 1 metre wide and 50 millimetres high and have been installed at turns 16 and 17, where of course Max Verstappen made that move. There have also been some new curbs installed at turn 1, with the new ones being similar to those being used at other points of the racetrack. And at time of recording, there has been no word from the FIA about any track limit punishments during the weekend, such as, times being deleted for leaving the track at certain points. Hopefully, they'll be a bit more consistent with it all this season, although this is the FIA, and so to be perfectly honest, I don't hold out much hope. But let's move on from that. The tyres available for this weekend are the soft, the super soft and the ultra soft. As for drivers' tyre selection, both the Mercedes boys are taking 7 sets of the ultra softs, with Kimi Raikkonen also taking 7. That is mirrored by Gasly and Hartley in the Toro Rossos. The other Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel, takes 8 sets, with Sainz and Hülkenberg and Grosjean and Magnussen choosing to do the same. It's just 6 sets for Ricciardo and Verstappen, so that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, and only 5 for Alonso and Van Dorn. But the 2 Force Indias, the 2 Williams and the 2 Saubers are all taking the most, with 9 sets of the ultra soft tyres each. As for the race strategy, well, as we'll talk about in just a moment, if the rain does rock up for all 3 practice sessions, then the teams are not going to have much, if any, up-to-date dry track data, and so that could cause a mix on Sunday. But in all honesty, with the undercut being quite powerful around COTA and the fact that temperatures are set to stay fairly low throughout the race, I can't really see the front runners doing more than one stop, although I really hope I'm wrong on that. As for that weather then, at time of recording, the weather report according to the Met Office is for rain throughout the day on Friday, with that wet weather having a 60% chance of affecting FP1 and FP2. Rain is also forecast for Saturday, although this is moving around every time I seem to look at it. At the moment it's saying there is a 60% chance of rain hitting for FP3 and a 20% chance for qualifying, although just a few hours ago that was 50% for qualifying. As for the race, it is currently forecast to be dry with less than a 5% chance of any rainfall, but as I've just touched on there, it is only Thursday, and as I'm sure you're all fully aware, that can change very quickly. But based on some of the images being shared on social media by those who are there, conditions aren't great. Hopefully though, they won't be as bad as they were back in 2015 when of course FP2 was cancelled and qualifying was moved to Sunday morning. Now before I get on to my one to watch, let's have a closer look at the circuit as I hand you over to Matt for a virtual lap around the circuit of the Americas.
Hello ladies and gents, and welcome back guys to this week's F1 2018 game hot lap. Obviously it takes us to the wonderful circuit of the Americas, the 20 corner track, obviously purpose built for Formula 1 and MotoGP. And we start the lap up towards the very long run towards turn 1 here, brake just before the black box on the outside there. Bring the car down into second gear and make sure you don't tack too much curb on the exit of the corner. Through turn 2, obviously not very much of a corner in a Formula 1 car with a high amount of downforce, and then through this wonderful sweeping section through turn 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through to turn 9 here. Obviously just got to make sure you get the car nicely rotated through every single part of the corner. It's one of those horrible ones where if it starts to go wrong, it will all go wrong very, very quickly there. But you exit the final part of that through turn 9 and then through the kink of turn 10, and you're now through the end of sector 1, and obviously one of the most difficult parts of this circuit. In towards the hairpin brake just before the 100 metre board there. Try and get the car clipped on the apex, and then you come out onto the very, very long back straight here. Cycle all the way through the gears up into 8th and over 200 miles an hour, 325 kph as you brake in towards turn 12 here. Brake just at the 100 metre board. Try and make sure you clip the curb on the inside once more here, obviously famously. Track limits have been changed for this year's Grand Prix as well. They've changed some sausage curbs around the circuit as well. They're in towards the final few corners now of turn 15 here. A very, very difficult corner to try and get right there. You really just feel like you're almost parked on the apex there as you come through the brilliant turn 16, 17, 18 complex. My favourite corners on this track, obviously based on the Turkey S section, turn 8 back at Turkey there, the Istanbul ring. Through turn 19, back down into 5th gear, then in towards the final corner. 3rd gear, once more, make sure you get good traction on the exit of the corner there, and that has been a lap of the Circuit of Americas, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed.
So there we go then, a lap of the US Grand Prix circuit. Thank you as ever, Matt, and don't forget there is a link in the description to Matt's channel, so make sure you head on over and check out his content. On to my one to watch then, and this time round I'm going to go for a team, and as it is their home Grand Prix weekend, I've gone for Haas. But not just because it's their home Grand Prix weekend, they are also in one hell of a fight with Renault & Co for the best of the rest title, and with Kevin Magnussen's form this year and Romain Grosjean's recent improvement, they could be very strong this weekend. And when you throw into the mix the obvious performance advantage of running that Ferrari engine over the Renault, and with the likes of that super long back straight and the extended DRS, they could be on for some seriously big points. They are just 8 points behind Renault and could well get the jump on them if all goes to plan this weekend. And K-Mag himself is level on 53 points with Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg in that fight for 7th in the Drivers' Championship. So he and Haas are certainly worth keeping an eye on this weekend in Austin. That is it for the weekend warm-up then, and what are your predictions for this weekend? Who do you think will take pole position on Saturday? Who are you expecting to win on Sunday? And which driver or team is your one to watch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now I will be back on Saturday with a roundup of FP1 and FP2, with that video being up on the channel by 2 PM UK time. And don't forget to join me, John T and Shane Bear at 10 PM on Sunday for the post-race livestream. In the meantime though, you can follow me over on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.